blame my parents for the way I am today. The genes I got from my dad weren't awful. I mean, he gave me his hairy ass back and his chronic obsession with watching grown men fighting in underwear. However, my mother gave me something a little more meaningful. Truly something that could only come from her. She gave me her fucked up digestive system. And little did I know the adventures it would take me on. Whenever I was 12, I was sleeping in my big boy bed for the first time. I was cuddling my Mickey Mouse stuffed animal, and I could feel the bed sheets getting mushy and gushy. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't the atrocious smell that woke me up, but it was the sound of Mickey Mouse saying, "Boy, we've got a shitter!" I jumped out of bed, and upon investigating the horrendous crime scene, I learned that Johns Hopkins University defines irritable bowel syndrome as a common condition characterized by altered bowel movements associated with abdominal discomfort. Shocked by this discovery, I decided I'd rather sleep with my parents in the first place. While IBS can be tough to live with, many people are so embarrassed of the syndrome that they avoid seeking treatment. Like, damn, okay, I guess you love answering nature's booty call. And considering that the National Institute of Health tells us that over 75% of cases go undiagnosed, it's time we cut the crap. So today, let's talk about why people aren't treating their IBS by looking at the causes, effects, and solutions that will improve the lives of those living with IBS and all of your nostrils. My motivation for writing this speech actually started at last year's national tournament. I was staying in a room with one of my teammates, and he publicly pointed out the constant stench that was following me around. Now, how did this happen? Well, I let him pick dinner that night. Guess where he picked? A local Mexican restaurant. I bet you can guess who won that battle. While I was struggling, he continued to point out the stench that was following me around. And after being called out and embarrassed, I decided to privately message my head coach, asking if he had some Pepto-Bismol. He still hasn't responded. So why aren't people treating their IBS? First, the stigma. According to Healthline on February 12th of 2023, people are scared of seeking treatment of IBS because it involves talking about poop. Try doing it for 10 minutes, buddy. It's very common for potential IBSers to avoid acknowledging they have an actual serious issue. The Grove Medical Group tells us on June 11th of 2022 that if you were taught it is rude to talk about your bowel functions, it can be very difficult to talk about them with others. So, let me ask you, would you rather talk to a doctor for 5 minutes about your reeking rectum, or continue to be on Dairy Queen's do not serve list? Second, the lack of education. According to nutritional scientist Anita T.,
I have a special place in my heart for those living with IBS.
Aw, thanks, Queen. But then she further explains,
This because I was told I had IBS, even though I showed no signs. Therefore, IBS isn't a real thing.
white people. People believe that unless you are uncontrollably defecating 24/7, you don't have IBS. However, the NIH tells us that potential signs and symptoms of IBS include nausea, heartburn, headache, lack of sleep, and weight fluctuations. People often associate IBS with poop, but don't realize it's much more than that. It really is a whole lot of crap. Personally, I went many years without seeking any forms of treatment, but the way that my doctor described it to me was by quoting DJ Lance from Yo Gabba Gabba. He stated, "There's a party in my tummy, but damn it, it ain't so yummy!" So, what is rectal prolapse? And for those of you who aren't proficient in your booty boo-boos, that means that your rectum turns inside out and protrudes through the anus. Did you hear about the guy at this tournament who learned he had rectal prolapse? Yeah, he was pretty bummed out about it. Okay, for real, don't ask me about the time that my anus prolapsed. It's a long ass story. This is the textbook definition of the snowball effect. The diarrhea and constipation quickly turn into a chronic caboose cannon that you have no control over. So by not treating your IBS, things just get out of hand. Second, self-shame. According to the Dr. Shar Institute, IBS patients have a higher risk of anxiety, stress, depression, and shame. Up to 86% of IBS patients report they do not feel normal. I can stand up here today and tell all of you about some of my best work, painting the inside of toilet bowls and destroying people's nostrils. But I could also tell you about the times in which I questioned why I was like this. It's a burden that many people with IBS hold, and it does make it more difficult to go throughout life. We constantly shame ourselves for something that we cannot control, yet we avoid seeking treatment out of the fear of embarrassment. Society has taught you to believe that we are Charmin Ultra Soft wiping, Taco Bell avoiding, Pepto-Bismol sipping, Fruit of the Loom skid marking, Cocoa Puff producing freaks. But it's taught us to be shameful pieces of shit. That wasn't supposed to be funny. After finally seeking treatment and learning about my IBS, I'm finally able to be comfortable. And all I had to do was talk to a doctor for a couple minutes and change my diet up a tad bit, such as cutting out fiber and slowing down on the coffee. Well, except on tournament days, so if after this speech I stay away. So how do we improve the lives of those living with IBS? First, educating ourselves. UCLA Health states that by understanding the signs and symptoms of IBS, we can help improve their managing their symptoms. But furthermore, if you show any signs or symptoms, please go seek treatment. You don't deserve to continue living in pain and confusion. And look, if you're scared of getting the dreaded 3-finger combo, that shouldn't stop you from seeking treatment. I get it. No one wants to get a colonoscopy, but it can be very beneficial. As a matter of fact, it's actually the one time in which being told, "Wow, what an asshole," is a compliment. But there are other forms of treatment. Attached to these Fiber One brownies is a QR code that takes you to the IBS.org website. Use this to either A, consider seeking treatment, or B, learn more about IBS out of sheer curiosity, I guess. Damn! Second, showing mercy. According to Riser.com, being empathetic and understanding towards those with IBS can help improve the overall quality of life. But to put it in simple terms, stop shitting on people with IBS. If you're in the presence of someone and they let out a one-cheek squeak, don't laugh and make them feel worse than they already do. Trust me, we are well aware that we just blessed your nasal passageways. Just be patient, understanding, and mind your own damn business. After seeking the treatment, I'm able to be comfortable in my own skin and with my stupid hand-me-down digestive system. I'm able to be my true and authentic self around others, like my team. Long story short, I forgave my teammate and coach for their shitty behavior at last year's national tournament, and to keep them in the loop of my poop, we created a league on the Poop Map app, where we get to track each other's bowel movements and compete. The shit people think about nowadays is getting scary. I'm happy to say that I'm currently in a commanding first place lead, averaging 1.15 poops a day. If you guys want to join on the league or follow my poop journey, come find me after the round, and we can certainly arrange that. Together, we can make this world a better place and flush out the shitty stigma surrounding